Hey, hello, I'm Kråkan, also known as Scarecrow, and welcome to Closet Movie Rambles, where I talk about old movies that I found in my closet while cleaning. This week's movie is Family Guy, something, something, something Darkside. It's a 2009 comedy, about 52 minutes long, starring Seth MacFarlane, Seth Green, and Mila Kunis. And it's basically a parody of The Empire Strikes Back, the Star Wars movie. And the movie starts at the Griffin's house where the family is watching TV and the power goes out. And Peter basically starts telling the story of Empire Strikes Back, and then the movie starts. And it's in a galaxy far, far away where when gay people weren't so in your face about it. And then the crawl starts, go up the screen, and it basically explained that they spent the whole budget on this one CG elephant that comes dancing across the screen. It's kind of stupid. And they cut to a star destroyer releasing drones or droids out in the universe, basically looking for the rebel base. And one of them crashes down on the planet Hoth. And this character Joe is basically the disabled guy in the series. He's basically half droid, half machine, and he goes across the screen like wow wow or Jojo or something like that, kind of stupid. And then basically what happens is Luke and Han is out patrolling, and Luke sees the droid crashing, and he goes to check it out. He thinks it's a meteor or something, so he goes to check it out. And Han says over the comm like, "Watch out for snow monsters." And Luke says, "Yeah, sure, I'll do that." And then he gets mauled down by the Cookie Monster. And then they cut back to the base where Han is basically arriving, and he's telling Leia, which is in this case is Peter's wife in the series, that he's leaving. And then there's some guy coming up with some ice, and because it's the planet is called Hoth, which is basically a pun from the Star Wars universe. It's basically an ice planet called Hoth. And there's a guy coming up with a bag of ice. "Hey, you want some ice?" "Yeah, there's ice everywhere." Peter says something like that, kind of inappropriate timing or whatever. And then it cut back to Chris' character Luke in a cave trying to reach his lightsaber, and then he reaches for it, and the Cookie Monster kind of attacks him, and Chris cuts off his arm, and the Cookie Monster kind of cries and runs away. And Chris crawls out of the ice cave, and there's an ice storm, and he goes, but he doesn't get very far out in the blizzard, and then he passes out. And then Han and gets a message from C-3PO and R2-D2, basically played by Cleveland in the show, and Quagmire, asking if they have seen Luke anywhere. And Han gets worried too, so he also goes out to look for Luke on a Don, which is basically, it's a joke too, because in the series there's like this rideable ice creature called Tauntauns, but he's riding a Don in this case, and I think it's a pun on some comedian or something. But basically Hans rides out in the blizzard looking for Luke. And meanwhile this is happening, Luke is in the blizzard, and he gets connected by his mentor, Obi-Wan Kenobi, in this case played by Herbert the Pervert from the series. And Herbert or Obi-Wan basically tells Luke to go to the Dagobah system and find Yoda, and he will construct him on how to be a better Jedi. And then Han arrives at the scene and finds Luke, and the Don dies in the blizzard, and Peter's character basically uses Luke's lightsaber, or Chris's lightsaber, whatever, to cut the stomach open of the Don to make some shelter for the blizzard from the night. And there is this pun where Han puts Luke inside of the creature just to keep him warm, and he kind of tries to set up shelter, and he kind of hangs upon the beast and just like has this breathing moment where "I thought they smelled bad," and he like continues for like a minute breathing, and then "on the outside." It's kind of a stupid pun because it Family Guy. And then the next day snow speeders go out looking for him, and so this is also kind of a funny pun because they have like these names like Rogue Leaders and Red 1 or Red 2. So I was expecting like seeing the Empire movie like, this is Red 2, Han, oh buddy, do you read me? Or something like that, but it's like, oh, red over fat guy, overweight guy calling Han Solo. It's like this stupid pun, and then they find him and they pick him up and basically return him to base, and where Luke has recovered from the wounds. And then cutting to Darth Vader, played by Stewie, hanging out from a window of the Star Destroyer with a baseball bat, smashing Leonard Nimoy's mailbox. And then cutting back to Luke, saying goodbye to Han and Chewie. And then cutting back to Darth Vader as he's choking one of his admirals because he came out of light speed too fast. So now the rebels know that they're there. So the rebels plan for a ground attack and prep for evacuating the remaining rebels. And Luke's co-pilot says, I think I'm ready to take on the whole Empire myself, or I feel like I'm gonna take on the whole Empire by myself. And then Chris's character Luke says, "Oh, got it, Dak got this one. You know he's gonna do this." And he basically goes up in space, and he gets his ship destroyed. And then basically Luke, they go out with their speeders, and he shoots one of their big four-legged AT-AT walkers in the leg, and it's this Family Guy joke where it's the same as Peter had in the series. Like he hurts his knees and he just goes kind of in agony with his leg for like a minute. It's kind of a stupid thing. And then basically what happens is Luke crashes and is about to get stomped on by one of these machines, but he takes it out and basically goes for the escape. And meanwhile Han goes back to pick up Leia, or actually not just Leia, because he forgot his keys to his ship. And then basically they leave. They're about to go to the hangar, and then Vader arrives, and then they leave, and then they part. So Luke is supposed to go to Dagobah to seek out who this Yoda character is, but R2 kind of remind him like, we have to go to my niece's violin recital, so he has to like just relax and sit and listen to this horrible violin play. And then they go, so basically they cut back to Han, Chewie and Leia in the ship, and they're basically being hunted by the Empire, and they go into an asteroid field, and then Peter makes a joke. We're gonna be destroyed. We're driving to this asteroid field or something, and then Peter says like, or Han's character says like, we were not gonna die. You know, 4 of the main characters is on the ship. There's no way they'll kill us off. And then they basically fly on to one of the surfaces of the big asteroid, just like in the Empire Strikes Back movie. And then the ship's TIE fighter kind of they destroy themselves by going through narrow gaps and stuff. And then they go through into a cave to just hide there for the moment, which it is. And then Luke crash lands on Dagobah because the sensor is not working, and R2 as they landed kind of in this water swamp area, and Luke kind of goes ashore, and R2 kind of falls in the water, just like the movie. And then he just the Cleveland joke is basically whatever happens, he's also sitting in the series, he's sitting in a bathtub just having a bath, and then the wall kind of cracks up and he goes, no, and like the bathtub kind of crashed to the ground. The same principle, but now he goes into the swamp, and this beast spits him out basically. And then they cut to them later setting up camp, and then basically Yoda is behind them, and he kind of turns. And Chris says like, I feel like we've been watched or something. He turns around, and Yoda says, "Who the hell are you?" It's kind of funny thing, because in the Empire Strikes Back movie, Yoda is this wise old man, kind of guiding wizard kind of character that's supposed to guide Luke through his adventure. And there is kind of like this, whatever kind of dude. And then he continues to speak. So speaks about. He says this funny line. I'm not Yoda, and he kind of looks at him. Oh, okay, I'm Yoda, but I'm not gonna train you in the Force. Yeah, I'm gonna train you in the Force now. So this is kind of like this stupid thing. Like first he says something, and then he doesn't really. And and then we cut back to the Falcon, where Leia is basically repairing the Falcon, and he explains to Han, like, you need to change this and change that, change this and change that, and he basically I could just kiss you so hard that the scene of this scene will change, and then he kind of doesn't, it kind of sweeps right over. And then cutting to the Empire Star Destroyer entering the asteroid field, and Darth Vader arguing with the cleaning lady about the Windex. And it's kind of a stupid scene too, because in the series there's this cleaning lady, and she only wants Windex to clean, but there is no Windex. You have to do with what you got, and there's the same joke over again. And then she says, no clean, senor, no, or something like this, really stereotypical line. And she continues to argue with Darth Vader, and then the Emperor calls Darth Vader, so he takes this call to his private chamber room, where the Emperor talks about he's basically, this is also stupid, but it's funny. He's basically going from the CD format to MP3s, because that was a thing then. And so he basically asked Darth Vader about, okay, what about these groups and these bands? And he's basically, you want this because otherwise I'll throw them away. And there's like this funny scene where there's this band is kind of ridiculous, and Stewie kind of likes him. So okay, I mean, I'll take it off your hands if you don't want it. And it's kind of stupid, but it's funny at the same time. And then the Emperor says how you might be able to turn Luke to the dark side. And that will be easy, says Darth. I just show him our recruitment video. And there's this funny montage where they finish college, and they have this training montage, and how they met, how boys and girls meet through the Empire. And the end line is kind of funny, because our ships are shaped like triangles. But it's like, okay, it's kind of stupid but funny. And then it cuts to Yoda training Luke, and this basically like a montage. They cut between Chris and the real Rocky movie, where they train against the Russian boxer. I forgot what he's called in the movie, but basically cutting from real footage to cartoon footage, forward and backwards. And then cutting to the Empire looking for the Falcon, and Han and Chewie and Leia, basically they went into this cave to hide, but it basically isn't a cave. It's something else. So they go out and check it out, and Han fires a few shots, and it's kind of this Family Guy humor. It lingers on. He fires more than he's supposed to, and then they fly out of there. And it basically turns out that they're in the belly of a big monster space worm, which is shaped like the Meg from the series. And then cutting back to Luke training on Dagobah again, but this time it's trivia from movies. So there's this kind of nerd trivia about celebrities and stuff. And then Chris's character asks about a cave, the dark side. There's like a cave with very strong dark side presence. And he goes in there and he fails this test, basically. And there's some jokes there, but... and then they cut to the Empire chasing the Millennium Falcon through the asteroid field, because they picked them up when they escaped from the sandworm pit. And so basically what happens is the Empire, the Falcon does a 180 and goes back to attack the Star Destroyer, and they basically detach themselves to the garbage chutes where the sensors are kind of weak, so they won't be spotted. and on the ship, Vader has recruited some bounty hunters, and one of them is the chicken from the series, which basically has this vendetta thing against Peter. They kind of fight each other. I don't know why really, but there was this misunderstanding, and then just trying to kill each other. And then, of course, the Empire, they kind of lost sight of them. So there's this admiral, the new admiral or whatever, captain. It says Darth Vader demands update on the pursuit. What's happened to the ship? Tell him that we blew it up, but we didn't. I can hear you, you know. And then there's this comm center, and then he gets choked, basically, and say, "You didn't think I could choke you with a phone, did you?" It's kind of this stupid, funny scene. And then the Empire is supposed to leave, and then they release the garbage, and Falcon kind of floats out of there, and they look up a nearby system for a few repairs, I guess. And Han looks at the display and he says, "Oh, okay, this system looks good." And then Leia's character, or Lois's character, Leia, says like, "The Lando system? Yeah, it's not just a system, you know." Leia says, "I think he's the only black guy in the universe too." And there's like this pun, because it's actually a true fact. Like in The Empire Strikes Back, there's so many races and alien kind of entities and creatures, but there's really just one black guy. And funny fact though, I guess. And then they leave for the Lando system. But the bird character, in this case the cameo of Boba Fett, kind of like the bird character, follows them to Cloud City. And Luke kind of senses that they're in danger, so he finishes his training on Dagobah, and he also goes to Cloud City. And on Cloud City, Han Solo and Leia, they meet up with Lando, which betrays them because the Empire is already there, and Vader basically takes Han and torture him yet again, silly by with stupid, kind of like the stupid thing with music, and he's kind of tormented because the music is so bad. And Luke arrives at Cloud City, and then he fights Vader, and there's this drawn out battle between them. And meanwhile this is going on, basically the other guys escape. And well, first of all, Vader wants to trap Luke, so they have this hibernation, carbonation, I don't know what it's called, like a chamber that freezes and preserve people in a perfect state. So they're supposed to test it on Han Solo first. So there is this famous scene where, in The Empire Strikes Back, where Han is pulled away from Leia, and Leia says, "I love you," and Han says, "I know," and then he gets lowered down into the freezing chamber. But in this movie, Lois's character Leia says, "I love you," and Peter just responds, "Fuck off." This is such just brilliant, because you were expecting like, "I know" or something, but this "fuck off," like, oh, okay, sure. And then he lower him into the cryo freezing chamber, and then when they pull him out of there, it's just basically been frozen in this state where he just pulled down his pants and it's showing his ass. It's kind of stupid, but it's kind of funny too. And then they basically take Boba Fett's character, in this case the bird or the chicken, they take Han's frozen state body to his ship, and Lando is basically have a change of heart, so he call on his guards, and then they disarm the stormtroopers, and then they go try to save Han, but they fail, and the bird Boba Fett guy kind of escape, and they try to run to their ship, and they get chased by the Empire. Meanwhile this is going on, Vader is fighting Luke on and off, and there is this hard battle, and Chris's character says, in this case Luke, then he says, "I'll give my right hand for this day to end," and then his hand gets chopped off, and then they have this argument forward and backward, that just like in the movie where the original movie, and this is a spoiler by the way, and that Luke, Darth Vader is Luke's father, and then Obi-Wan never told me what happened to my father, and then Vader says, "No, I am your father," and then I don't see how that changes. What? This is funny drawn out scene, and then they talk about we can rule the galaxy like father and son, or we can just. And Stewie kind of goes on this gay rant, and I think it's kind of funny, like, or we can just be two dudes, you know, doing what we do with each other, and you know, we're just hanging out. And it's nothing weird if we do it together. And it's like Chris is like, oh, we just let go, and he falls down this shaft thing, and he falls out onto this antenna, and then he calls out to Ben Obi-Wan, and he calls out to Leia, and then he calls out to this random guy that I don't know, maybe another type of actor in the real world, and kind of goes, what? And then he cut back to him calling Leia, and Leia picks him up with the Falcon. They go back, and then Vader contacts Luke on the ship with the Force, and he basically realized that, oh, he is called the wrong person or something. He's like, oh, Jesus Christ, you know, stop. But basically, the rebels escaped from the Empire, and then the movie ends, and then the power comes back on in the Family Guy house, and then Peter and Chris's character had this argument about there's this comedy show, and they kind of argue forward and backward, and basically it ends with Chris yelling to Peter like, "Fuck you, Dad," or something like that. And I think this is a really good movie, because if you are like a massive Star Wars fan as I am, you remember these movies and how the scenes are supposed to play out. And you kind of expect like, okay, now this is going to happen and this is going to happen, but something similar happened, and sometimes the twist is kind of turned. But you know, can I recommend this movie? Absolutely. It's one of those funny movies that if it's on TV, just watch it. And the only negative thing you can say about comedic movies and jokes is that the more you tell them, the less funnier they become. So that's the only problem. So if you haven't seen this movie in a while, watch it. That's a good way of saying it. But anyway, I wish to thank you, and happy holidays, and Merry Christmas, and take care.